Hello, my name is Wes Fleming, and this is Chasing the Horizon. Welcome to Chasing the Horizon, a podcast by, for, and about motorcyclists, and brought to you by the BMW Motorcycle Owners of America. We'll be in iTunes starting in October, and you can subscribe to the podcast by going to our website at bmwmoa.org/podcast. Thanks for joining us. After asking everybody to help out however they could with the devastation caused in the Houston area by Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma swept up from the Caribbean and tore up Florida. There was a big earthquake in Oklahoma, and it seems like half of the forests in the western portion of the United States are on fire. It's crazy. No matter what, I hope everybody stays safe, and if you're outside the areas affected by these events, do something, anything to help out, whatever you can do. Even if it's just sending your friends that live in those areas a message of encouragement. Turning to the news, let's start with India. Cycle News hasn't picked up some of this stuff yet, and I know it's hard to believe, but I do have other sources. Back in the first episode, I mentioned that Volkswagen has been shopping Ducati, trying to see if they could find a buyer for the iconic Italian brand, generate some cash to help deal with their financial fallout from the big diesel emissions cheating scandal. There have been some developments on that front. First, Reuters is reporting that Volkswagen has put the sale of Ducati on hold, saying that VW has told 5 likely bidders to wait before making any kind of a binding bid. One of the reasons for the hold could be opposition from the German labor unions who supply workers to both Volkswagen and Audi, which is the division of VW that controls Ducati. The specific reason that I heard was that the labor unions are trying to prevent any kind of workforce disruption ahead of their union council elections at VW next year in 2018. Another possible reason for the pause request is that there's some internal pressure to abandon the sale outright, with inside sources saying both VW and Audi revenues in the last year have been strong enough to sideline the financial need to sell off the motorcycle company. VW executive Thomas Cedrin told a Reuters reporter in August that they were, quote, in no hurry to find a new owner for Ducati. Despite VW's apparent reluctance to move forward with binding bids from interested parties, Indian motorcycle company Eicher could be prepping a bid as high as $2 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars for Ducati. You may not know who Eicher is, but you've heard of one of their brands, Royal Enfield. Eicher is based in Mumbai, and my information is that they're the last Asian company still interested in Ducati. Buying Ducati would certainly be a coup for Eicher. That would bring a vast amount of technology into their company, not to mention Ducati's history of designing beautiful motorcycles and the notoriety of being able to nab one of Europe's most well-known motorcycle brands and putting it under their corporate umbrella. Speaking of Royal Enfield, they appear poised to enter the U.S. market in a big way by starting a dealer network centered around Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They opened a big dealership there last year, and Royal Enfield officials say they're ready to move forward with a network of 60 dealers and a slew of new bikes, including a dual sport model. Frankly, they would be crazy to attack the U.S. market without a dual sport bike, so it shouldn't be a huge surprise that they've got one in the works. A man called Rod Copes is the president of Royal Enfield North America. Copes used to work for Harley-Davidson, leading their sales team responsible for Asia and emerging markets. Even though Royal Enfield's sales in the U.S. are tiny, tiny numbers, they're on track to sell over 800,000 motorcycles throughout the world in 2017. Copes said, quote, we want to be very deliberate and very careful because we have one chance to reintroduce the brand to this marketplace. He means North America, the U.S. and Canada. You may have heard of those countries. Copes also admits that Royal Enfield isn't trying to compete with the big dogs in American motorcycling, saying that the company prefers to focus on a customer that is never going to buy a Harley. To me, that says young riders, probably new riders, riders that may not have a lot of disposable income. When you look at Royal Enfield's lineup, everything they have out costs less than $6,000. The Classic, the Bullet, the Continental GT all sell new from between $5,000 to $6,000. If they do indeed bring in the Himalayan, that's their 400cc dual sport bike. If they bring the Himalayan into the U.S., I would expect it to be priced in the same range. They'd be insane not to. Given the recent retro bike craze among the 30 or so and under crowd in the US, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see a solid marketing effort from Royal Enfield have a positive effect on their sales numbers in North America. I know when I was in my early 20s, I'd have rather spent $5,000 on a bike than a car. And that's certainly more attractive if you live in a city or near a city where you can get to a lot of things with public transportation, or you can take advantage of a ride-sharing network like Uber. Certainly, Royal Enfield has to recognize that putting out an adventure bike at this point in time is almost like printing money, so they would be seriously remiss not to bring the Himalayan over here. Maybe I'll give Mr. Copes a call and see if I can get him on the show. You never know, and it never hurts to ask. Staying in Milwaukee, but transitioning from Royal Enfield to a brand that sells significantly more motorcycles, let's talk about Harley-Davidson for a moment. Most motorcycle manufacturers strive to improve their technology to keep innovating and moving forward. Harley gets criticized in some circles for their reliance on old air-cooled V-twin technology, but it's clearly something that for them continues to sell motorcycles. Yamaha even put out a brand new, large and massive, I think the thing weighs over 900 pounds, a new touring motorcycle that's powered by a giant air-cooled V-twin. Now, the one exception to Harley's air-cooled ways has been the V-Rod. It's a motorcycle that they introduced in 2001, and it was a huge leap forward in technology for them. People either loved it or hated it, but one thing it did was get people who wouldn't normally ride a Harley talk about not just riding one, but owning one. Harley developed the V-Rod with cooperation from Porsche, and the high-tech water-cooled bike looked sleek, fast, and aggressive. I have to admit that even I checked them out and took one for a test ride. It was too expensive and not really my style of motorcycle at the time, but it was fantastic to ride. It was smooth. It was, really just not like any other Harley I'd ever seen or ridden. V-Rod haters can finally rejoice, though, because it looks like Harley is discontinuing the bike. It's absent completely from the 2018 offerings on their website, and chatter that's been going on for nearly a year is getting louder that the bike isn't just taking a model year off to be revamped or refurbished or spruced up, but rather the bike is being dropped completely. It's an unfortunate development, I think, but I'm sure Harley makes its decisions based on cold, hard facts like sales numbers. We certainly saw that kind of decision making with Buell. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised that if the V-Rod isn't selling well year after year, they're more likely to ditch it than to keep it. I'll be sure to stop by the Harley booth at the AIM Expo next week and see if I can get somebody to go on the record about the V-Rod. And if I can, you'll hear about it here. When it comes to the world of motorcycle luggage, there are many brands to choose from. In the adventure bike segment, many of those brands produce classy-looking and sturdy aluminum panniers, a trend that started with our next guest, Al Jesse. We had Sean Derivan join us, and if you've been paying attention to news in the motorcycle world, you already know why Sean joined us. If you don't know, I won't spoil it for you, because you'll know soon enough. Now for our discussion with Al Jesse and Sean Derivan. All right, so this week's interview is with Al Jesse of Jesse Luggage, and somebody that he's been working with for quite a long time, Sean Derivan. We're going to get to why Sean's here in a little bit. We're going to start out talking to Al because, it's his name on the luggage, and that's how we all know him. Al, welcome to the podcast. Sean, it's good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Al, I know you've got a long history with motorcycles. When did you start riding? What was your first bike, your first motorcycling experience?
First bike was probably little mini bikes, but otherwise, probably the first motorcycle was a 71 RT 450 Desmo single, which was it's pretty
mouthful.
It is. It was a pretty rare bike. It was only brought to the country a couple years, and it's quite a handful. But it was a hell of a one to start on. But that was in the early 70s.
Early 70s. Yeah. So what do you ride now? When you have time to ride? I know you're running a business.
We have pretty much one of every brand. So, but my main is my F800. I've set up for world travel and. It just does it all.
I've done a few of these interviews at this point, and The F800 is not a bike that's on my radar.
Yeah.
It just, hasn't been. I don't know that many people where I live that have F800s, but I've talked to several people, including the guys from Touratech, who love the F800.
It's a nice size. It's not a 1200, and that's part of the good part. It's not a great big bike,
right?
And it is a trail bike. I use it kind of for the road bike. I've got an X Challenge that I use more off-road.
Another very popular bike.
Yeah, very, very. That was kind of a one-year wonder, they call it. Could never sell it when it was new, and now you can't find one.
Yeah, they go really fast when they're
fast, and they sell for retail what they did back then.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Maybe it's that unobtainium, that exclusivity.
No, well, yes and no. No, especially the X Challenge. I mean, it had some nice changes to the motor of the single, which is a great single. The 650 single was a great motor, but a little bit slow on the acceleration, a little bit streety type thing. But the X was, they pulled some flywheel off of it and cammed it,
amped it up.
Off it went. So yeah, it was fun. It's a fun motor.
So I'm curious to find out what bike or bikes you were riding when you came up with the idea for your luggage, because at the time. It seems like everybody has aluminum panniers now, but at the time that you first started putting your cases on the market, nobody else was doing that.
No. I came up with the idea. Well, I was in an R80. I went to England. I bought a R80 ST. I had traveled several countries before. I've done 50 countries at the moment. I had bought an R80 ST, which is a street version of the GS. And I outfitted it, and I had the BMW stock plastic stuff. When I had gone through Scandinavia and such, I worked in several bike shops and such around the way, on the way to Africa. I did the Paris-Dakar route in 1986, which the racers take 22 days, took me 3.5 months.
That's quite a difference. You weren't in a hurry. You weren't trying to win a race.
We were not in a hurry. We were 2 up, and we were also 900 pounds.
On an R80 ST?
ST. We were at one point we were 16 gallons of fuel, which we needed 17, but that's another story. And we had 10 gallons of water and enough food for 2 for a week. I did it 2 up. But we did make it to Dakar, La Carossa, actually, where it actually ends. And had Gaston Ryer at that time sign my tank.
Nice. So obviously you would have had the standard BMW plastic luggage.
Standard BMW plastic, and then 3.5 months in the desert was Sahara Desert is the size of the United States. So essentially going from New York to San Diego.
Wow.
On the sand, various types of sand and rock. So I had a little bit of time to think about really what needed to be done and what I needed to make, and absolutely no compromise. So when I got out of Africa, then I came back to America for just a few months, and then I went to New Zealand. I worked in New Zealand for a while. Been down 11 times down there.
Wow.
Worked for a company down there, and I actually built my first set in a friend's garage in New Zealand. Out of cardboard, and
it's like a mock-up.
Came back after 3-4 months, I think, on that trip back to America. And then I made the first. I used to make stuff before that, and I used to build stuff for mostly German and the Swiss. When I lived in California, they would buy my bikes with tanks and luggage and such on it. They'd do South America, ship it over to Africa, and go back to Europe. So that's kind of how I got started, and actually how it went to the next step was with Andy Goldfine at Aerostitch.
Yeah.
And this stuff kept coming through his shop, and he got a hold of me and goes, "Al, what the hell's going on here?
You got to start making this."
And I says, "No," I says, "they're not productionable." And I said, "No," and then finally we met, and
he talked you into it,
and we said, "Let's do it." So,
yeah. So one of the things that I like about, I have Jesse's on my R1200 GS.
Okay.
They're a little bit older, but
they don't wear
Doesn't
out.
matter.
They don't
It
wear
doesn't,
out, you know, so I haven't needed to replace them. But one of the things that I like is that you continue to innovate. You continue to update the system. Even if it's just a minor change in the mounting or a major change.
Yeah.
Mine are the ones that you have to open the lid and it's got the 2 clips and they hook on the little rubber or the bushings that have the little rubber on them.
Odyssey ones.
But that's not how they set up anymore.
No.
You know, I saw, as we talk, we're at the MOA National Rally in Salt Lake City, although people won't hear this for a couple of months. And you showed me your new top case mounting system, which is just 2 spinners and a rail, and it's off.
Yeah.
But it's still really rigid and really secure. So how do you come up with the new ideas? How do you keep moving forward like that? Well,
I've always built a lot of stuff over the years, and originally I'm a farmer, so I'm always thinking about something. That and $100,000 CNC machines help.
Yeah, CNC, that's a huge. I know.
So you build what you have. Yeah, I mean, you build with equipment you have. So
yeah, that's true. And the CNC makes things so much easier. For anybody that doesn't know, that's just basically it's a big milling machine that's controlled by a computer, and a lot of them, I don't know which one you have, but a lot of them have multiple tools, and the machine will switch out to the tool that's right for the job based on the programming. And you can build just about anything with one of these things. You can make, I know a friend of mine that lives in California makes guitars with his, you know, so it would have very different tools because he doesn't need to mill aluminum, but he makes the bridge of the guitar with another CNC machine.
Exactly.
And everything he got his start programming the machine that puts the caps on those old Gatorade bottles when they were still glass. So a lot of times we don't think about how computers can affect manufacturing, but they really do make a huge difference. So how much of your production line is automated like that? Like how many people work with you?
Well, we have as many as eight employees, but when I design something, we try to design something, and of course the computers help us out here as far as making 1,000 of something at a time. You know, in our shop, we can actually make a crankshaft up. We can make anything. So that said, it's a great prototype shop because we're just interested in short runs, small runs. We have people that call up with 19-year-old bags, and they go, "You have a part?" And they go, "Yeah, we got that."
Yeah, we got that.
We got that.
Well, good, because I need to replace one of the hinges on it.
All right.
It gets a little wonky from time to time.
If it's, how old are they? What, 15 years?
Yeah, and I think...
Okay, well, we only run about a 14-and-a-half-year warranty, so, we'll see what we can do.
Excellent, I appreciate that.
Okay.
So, what's your production capability? How many sets of cases do you make a month or a year?
We've always... not restricted it, but basically what we've done is been able to make 2,000 sets a year, and then we limited it to 1,000.
Okay. So you can put more attention into each set instead of maxing out your production run.
Yes. Well, yes, and with the cost of everything that's going, up and down continually. Obviously, in 22 years, you've seen the influx of aluminum and steel costs.
Sure.
Then you really need to be able to make it, be able to go back and make something, or like I say now, I can design something on a weekend, and by Tuesday we can have it for sale.
That's just amazing.
Well, but you got to keep it small, and but that takes some serious equipment to make that happen. But that's what really you need for innovation.
And I imagine when you first started, you didn't have all the computer-controlled machines.
No.
It was you and a sheet of aluminum and bending and welding.
We actually, and that's something that, because it's all handmade and everything's made in-house. And we have had, years ago, we had a customer call up and order, and we were, behind a little bit. And he called the next day and says, "When do they ship?" And I go, we got to make them.
Make them first.
So what I wanted to do at the time is I wanted to take a picture of a flat piece of aluminum and send it to them, but I got voted down, so I probably shouldn't do that.
That might have been a little aggressive.
Well, yeah, but you got to get it. These are handmade. People don't understand handmade.
Yeah, and well,
what does that mean?
I think, especially in the motorcycle world, we're so used to, going onto the AeroStitch website and ordering something, and it shows up 3 days later.
Well, that's the way Andy does it. So, and that's a great.
And he's not the only one. And you have companies like GV or TourTech that have large manufacturing facilities, and they make hundreds or even thousands of an item at a time.
Yeah.
So that handmade aesthetic, if you will, is something that we don't always think about. You know.
No, especially not with Amazon.
Exactly, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else.
Yeah.
I have that Amazon Prime, and my wife is on it, and she will have something sent to the house that I didn't even know we needed. And now you can get. I think the last thing I got on Amazon was my vitamins. I ran out of vitamins, and they were there in 2 days. So that instantaneous, what do they call that? Instant gratification.
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget that, a lot of times some of the things we put on our motorcycle, it's a dude with a torch making it, one piece at a time.
There will never be a Jesse Prime, but Sean is going to up the production, double the production, and really make it more and more.
And there you go. And that's a good opportunity for us to introduce Sean Derivan, who has been working with Al for, you said 6 or 7 years at this point?
7 years.
About 7 years. And I understand, Al, that there's a big change in your life coming, which is why Sean's here to start with. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
What am I going to do now?
Yeah, what are you going to do next?
Nothing.
No,
we're I had spent 4.5 years going around the world and been through 50 countries. And so we're going to go for 100. But what we want to do now, I'm fortunate enough to travel when I was young, and I understand how it works for your life and everything is. So I'm easily go back into that, where a lot of people that work all their life and then go, well, I think I'm going to. I already been there, and I'm going.
Yeah.
What we want to do
done
is
thinking about it.
We want to live in every year 2 countries, a month at a time, and then just go to throw a dart and go to the next country.
So not so much a retirement as a travel mentor.
Yes, but I mean and as Sean knows me as well. I mean I'm still making stuff.
Yeah. Well,
so I'll come up with ideas, but I'll give them to Sean.
You can't keep a tinkerer down.
Right. No,
it's tough. No. And when your mind works like that, I've discovered that it's a constant process, and you'll tweak and twitch and find a new idea.
Yeah.
So Sean, let's bring you into the conversation a little bit here. How did you get involved with Al and Jesse Luggage?
Well, about 7 years ago. There's been many transitions in manufacturing and us trying to reach out to new customers, and we got involved with Jesse Luggage at a time when we were new as a company, and we do metal fabrication work, job shop type work. So we were pretty new and reaching out, trying to get all the business we could. And Jesse Luggage happened to be reaching out, looking for new vendors to help out, and so we made a connection there, and we just started making stuff for them.
So what were you making for them at first?
Well, we began making basically just forming boxes, because I had an old press brake that we were able to repeat work, and
right.
It was a great machine, but it was old, and kind of started on the same hammer and dolly thing like Al started out with.
And just so that I know for sure, a press brake is a machine that bends metal.
That's correct.
And that's its whole job.
That's its
bend metal to a specific angle.
That's correct.
Move the metal, bend it again.
Yes.
Okay.
So we've been working with Al forming boxes for we started off forming boxes, and then we got into welding them, and then grinding and sanding and prepping them for powder, Over the last 7 years, we've done multiple items, not just the saddlebags themselves, but some of the other boxes and accessories, and helped out anywhere we could. And so we've been doing this for quite a while, and we understand most of the product. And I've got a big learning curve on the motorcycle end and the customer end of
Sure.
it. So, so there's a lot of work to be done there, but. But we now have the capability of designing in SolidWorks 3D CAD, so we can put assemblies together, virtual assemblies, and see how they fit the motorcycles, and some new advantages that we haven't used in the past. And so we're looking forward to continuing to build in my opinion, one of the best products out there. So.
Right. So other than the 3D CAD, CAD stands for computer aided or design?
Computer aided design.
And I know I learned about that a little bit. My brother's an architect, so they do a lot of CAD work. Yes. And I remember him talking about that, 10, 15 years ago. What other kind of technologies are you looking at down the road to help you? Because Al said you want to double production.
Yes, we're going to double production. We're already beginning to do that, sorting through inventory, trying to figure out where our levels are, where they need to be. And we've got CNC equipment, a press brake, 5-axis CNC press brake. It's
5-axis?
5-axis, so.
X, Y, Z, time, and gravity?
It's pretty close
pretty
to
much.
that. Yeah,
you just set the metal near it,
and it forms it up. Yeah, it has CNC crowning. So if you form long pieces, they tend to be overbent on the far ends and underbent in the middle, and this compensates for it.
Wow!
Automatically. Yeah. The back gauge moves in and out, up and down, side to side independently, and so we can do stage bending. We set up like the lids for the Odyssey 2s. We set those up as we pick it up flat, and when we set it down, it's completely formed. It's one step.
Saves time.
Saves time, and you gain consistency. Yeah. And efficiency. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I imagine in something where you're manufacturing to the mount, the parts of the mounts are the same. Mm-hmm. Parts of the mounts are bike specific. A KTM is going to have a different mount than a BMW,
right.
Or an Africa Twin or whatever. But to keep that consistency the same from part to part, from case to case, not only gives the customer that level of quality, but it enables you guys to repair something or replace something a whole lot easier.
Absolutely. And using the CAD system that we're using, we design this stuff and we can save that file. So it's in our server and it stays there forever.
Yeah.
So if I need it, all I have to do is look that part up, and then I can reproduce it in a few minutes.
Oh, that's good to know, because I got a big ding on one of my lids. But I'm rocking the 15-year-old cases.
That's right. Yeah. And your warranty is
my warranty.
I was going to bring the warranty.
I appreciate that. Well, right now my big deal is getting a clutch in the bike, so I'm not worried about the ding in my lid.
Well, the dings and stuff, we also offer repairs. So if that's something that you wanted to ship back, we can fix it.
That's something we've done forever, and where a lot of the stuff you get and you throw it away, and we have that all the time. People call up and go, "Oh, I need a lid, or I need this," and I go, "Why? Give me a picture." So we take a look, and we'll just fix that.
We can fix it.
How do you fix it? Well, we make them. We can fix it.
We fix it. We're magic. We get our Harry Potter wand and we just fix it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, in your quest to double production, are you going to have to move facilities? Are you going to have to get a bigger place?
So we're actually changing facilities, moving from the Glendale facility into Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
And we're adding some new equipment. We've got high definition plasma. We've got a CNC turret punch, the 5-axis CNC press brake. We use all pulse welding for the MIG on the boxes. So
gotcha. What's pulse welding? I've never heard that term.
So the machine itself, the welder, will actually pulse with high amperage to low amperage, so that we get good penetration, and then it backs off so it doesn't blow a hole through it. So
gotcha.
So it just automatically pulses a high and low cycle.
Yeah, electronically changes, and we used to, before that was available, we actually used to cheat the system called stitching. And basically you run the heat way too high and the speed a little low, and the wire will actually ball up and it'll just spit.
Yeah.
But you got to be very, very precise on that. That was the old way you used to cheat it, and it was, Miller used to tell us that it'll kill the machine, but I'm still using a 20-year-old machine. But
But it's nice to be able to do that a little more automated.
oh boy, you can do a beer can with it's
I'm not sure I
unbelievable.
want to drink a beer out of a can that's been
Well, we
welded.
drink it first.
Drink it
And
first.
then-
Yeah,
that's
and
the
you
key.
can weld them 2 cans together. So.
Right, yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, everything from the 3D CAD design all the way through the finishing is, we're working on some new processes. We're going to keep the core design and strength of the boxes, and we're just going to continue to try to improve on what's there.
Awesome. That's really cool. Have you done any exploration of 3D printing technology as kind of a prototyping method? I know that 3D printing is huge right now, and it's growing. The machines are getting cheaper.
3D printing is pretty industry specific. Some of the stuff we do, we could probably use it. I just don't know how we would use it yet. So it'd probably be on some of the smaller items, because to get to print something in 3D that's the size of a pannier,
We haven't got a week.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Yeah. But that's still an emerging technology. It's growing really, really fast.
Yeah.
And so we'll see where it goes. But we, using SolidWorks, we have the capability of programming the 3D printer. So we'll see.
Yeah, great. I just got a couple more questions for you guys. I'm interested in, because I know you make product for basically any adventure, what we now call adventure bikes, what we used to just call motorcycles.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers are constantly changing their models. Honda just put out the Africa Twin not long ago. KTM just dumped their 1090 on the market. How do you work with the manufacturers to get an example of a bike so that you can adapt your mounting? Because that's really all you have to do is adapt the mounting parts. Because the cases are the cases, and they fit right on.
Well, I mean, I've been in the industry since '71, so I know a few people, and we can get a hold of a bike quite easily.
Yeah.
And plus customers in the area as well. And the good thing about now, opposed to 20 years ago, is 20 years ago it used to take me easily 300 hours to make the first. Now we can do it in an afternoon.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So what changed between 300 hours and 6?
Well, machines and computers and,
Expertise.
So, making the jigs, again, it's 3D, so you put it on virtual reality, you can make it work on the screen. And what's the interference? There's all kinds of, it's huge.
Yeah. So one last question for you, Al. When do you plan on leaving on your next phase of your traveling journeys?
Well, it's like I say, it's at the MO Rally. It's Saturday. We're going to leave probably tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
No, no. Well, Julie and I my wife and I are going to go to Croatia in September.
Okay.
We have a bike that we leave in Europe, so at Stefan, so we'll pop on that. And she hasn't been to Czechoslovakia or Hungary. I've been there when it was curtain up and the curtain down. I haven't been in Slovakia or in Croatia since it was Yugoslavia.
Right.
So obviously it's going to be a little bit of change.
Yeah.
But we'll go there first. So.
Awesome. Well, good luck on your trip, and I want to thank Al and Sean from Jesse Luggage Systems for joining us for a little chat.
Thanks for
and
having us.
best of luck, Sean. I look forward to hearing more great things about Jesse Luggage in the future under your control.
I'm looking forward to it as well. So we've got some big shoes to fill, and we plan to do so.
Awesome. You guys take it easy. Have a good week.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
As some of you who follow my exploits may know, my main bike right now is a 2005 BMW R1200 GS, one of the ubiquitous adventure bikes out there in the world. Unfortunately, my GS is down right now waiting for a new clutch. I haven't been able to afford the parts needed for the clutch job since the problem cropped up in late June. Unlike most other bikes, doing the clutch on an oil-cooled BMW is a major operation that basically requires splitting the bike in half and the replacement of about $1,500 worth of parts. In my case, I'm also going to need to replace my clutch fluid master cylinder and the line that connects it to the slave cylinder, kind of adding insult to injury. What you don't know is that I recently secured a new full-time job after going almost 10 months without one. I anticipate being able to buy the parts for my bike and get that repair underway in November or early December. I'm going to be doing a bunch of other stuff at the same time, including taking advantage of Jesse's ability to repair the panniers. I guess at this point I should say Sean's ability to repair the panniers. I'm sending my dented pannier with the failing hinge in to them in a week or two and expect to have it back before my bike is fixed up in the coming months. I'm looking forward to getting back on my GS, and even though it only needs a clutch, you have to excuse me if I put only in air quotes there, I'm taking the opportunity to do some timely upgrades while I've got the bike torn apart. One thing I'm putting in is an oil-resistant friction disc for the clutch made by Siebenrock. It's a really cool piece of kit that's imported into this country exclusively by Wunderlich USA. It should go a long way in eliminating one of the common reasons for BMW hex head clutch failure. It's not the reason why my clutch failed. That has to do with just using it for 80,000 miles and, kind of not taking care of it along the way. Another upgrade I'm making is to the brakes by installing some wave-style brake discs on both wheels. And I'll be trying out some new brake pads made by SBS, which is a company out of Denmark. Another upgrade that I'll be making is to the suspension on the bike, using what is a very slick system made by Touratech that effectively introduces electronic suspension adjustment into a generation of motorcycles that never even had that as an option from the factory. I'll keep you posted, and of course you can look for articles in the MOA's monthly magazine, the BMW Owners News, and on the MOA's website, bmwmoa.org. Because this podcast is produced by the BMW Motorcycle Owners of America, in every episode I'll highlight one benefit of being a member. I admit it's an enticement to get you to our website and to get you to join. I've been a member since 1999, and I've used the member benefits to my advantage countless times since then, especially the roadside assistance program. But that's not what I'm going to tell you about today. Today it's about Priceline. The newest benefit the MOA brings to its members is a partnership with Priceline that can save members up to 60% on hotel bookings across all of North America. The hotel rates available to MOA members are usually the secret rates offered by Priceline and similar services. However, unlike most of those sites and apps, MOA members will be able to see the names of the hotels along with the discounted rates. Follow the Book Hotels link off the menu bar at bmwmoa.org or visit the membership discounts page. This service is easy to use. You just enter a travel city and the dates you want to stay. The system returns all the available hotels there and the rates. You can book away to your heart's content. Here's a disclaimer though. Prices and availability will vary, and the MOA makes no claim that our price is the lowest or that it can't be beat. Now, the MOA's website is the place to book all your hotel needs and get a competitive price simply for being an MOA member. It's a benefit that could easily pay back the cost of your membership in the MOA. I want to thank you for coming back for the 4th episode of Chasing the Horizon, which featured a discussion with Al Jesse and Sean Derivan of Jesse Luggage. Our next episode will feature Moira Zinn of Power Trip Industries. That episode will be out on October 2nd. In the meantime, check out our webpage at bmwmoa.org/podcast to catch up on any audio or video episodes you may have missed. Andrew Finberg composed and recorded our theme music. Karen Halker designed our logo. Thanks again to all our guests and listeners for giving us their time. We'll see you out there somewhere on the road or off it. Ride safe.